Nation, coming soon. The Office of the Prime Minister Press Office is the primary liaison between the Fourth Estate and the Office of the Prime Minister and Cabinet.
Every day, we are working to build a more inclusive economy and a stronger, safer country.
Hear all of the latest developments as the Davis administration carries out the broad mandate of progress and change. Our live weekly press briefings provide full access to current newsmakers on the most topical issues of the day. We facilitate prompt responses from cabinet ministers on the latest reports and get answers on the issues that matter to you.
Will any penalties be levied against the
OPM Press Now, keeping you in the know.
Good morning, media colleagues and those joining us via the stream. It is a pleasure to welcome you to OPM's weekly press briefing. We have an exciting briefing planned for you today with some exciting guests ready to give you the information that you so need to get your jobs done. Right now, I'm going to introduce Press Secretary Clint Watson, who will introduce our guests. Clint.
Thank you, Jillian. Good morning to all of you. Good morning, colleagues, those of you joining us this morning for another weekly update on what the Davis administration is doing. This morning, we want to focus on two important things that are taking place. Obviously, CARICOM, which begins here in the Bahamas next week, and a big week for the Bahamas as we host the regional leaders here and some international leaders to discuss matters of importance to the region and to the world. And so the ambassador to CARICOM, High Commissioner, Her Excellency Leslie Miller Bryce, is here to talk to us about CARICOM and any questions you may have regarding that. And then following Ambassador, we're going to talk with the Minister responsible for Economic Affairs, the Honorable Michael Alcides, a number of concerns coming up under his portfolio so that you can get further clarification. And then, of course, we'll take any questions you may have for us. So that's about, and then, of course, how could I forget it? We have a featured lineup for you today in our food vendor segment this week. We will be featuring the Bahamas Culinary Olympic team. And they have a display set up for you in the front that you journalists, I'm sure, will love. And they're going to talk about the Bahamas Culinary Olympic and what the chefs, what they're going to be doing. So that's exciting that we're going to get to today. So an exciting press briefing for you. Let's begin with the High Commissioner to CARICOM, Her Excellency Leslie Miller Bryce. She comes to brief us on CARICOM next week. Ambassador.
Good morning. My role as High Commissioner of the Bahamas to CARICOM is one I take great pride in, to not only represent our country within the region, but to provide recommendations and support to our government in fostering sound relationships within the region, protecting the interests of the Bahamas, and keeping the government aware of regional matters. I count it as a privilege to also be here as the 50th Independent Secretariat Chair, because 2023 marks a significant milestone for CARICOM and our nation as we both turn 50. As a member of CARICOM for the past 40 years, the Bahamas has made invaluable contributions to the region's socio-economic and cultural advancement. Together, we have built a united and resilient Caribbean community that has produced many reasons to celebrate. Moreover, it is these same milestones and triumphs that remind us of the value of unity, collaboration, and collective efforts. Next week, I look forward to welcoming our regional counterparts and diplomatic colleagues from within the region. I look forward to Prime Minister Davis's chairmanship over the deliberations and in-depth discussions that I believe will underscore the urgency of regional cooperation on key issues of national and regional importance, such as energy security, climate change, and food security, particularly in light of inflation and cost of living crisis at home and regionally. Next week, We will have the opportunity to showcase our Bahamian talent with an evening of entertainment, music, and art. We will pause and honor and pay tribute to Dame Janet Boswick, and we look forward to sharing with our regional brothers and sisters a taste of Bahamian culture, our heritage, and our pride. But beyond the jubilant celebrations and camaraderie, we aim to leave next week's meeting more united, more connected, and more focused on sound solutions that strengthen our region, uplift our communities, and empower our people. To CARICOM and to the Bahamas, may we always remember these words. We cannot be separated in interest or divided in purpose. Where there is unity, there is always victory. Thank you.
Any questions for the Ambassador of CARICOM? No? Okay. Ambassador, thank you. And of course, well, we will do another update on CARICOM on Tuesday with the Secretary General with another news briefing on that right before the ceremonies and the conference gets underway next week. Of course, it'll be held at the opening ceremonies will be held at Atlantis Ballroom, and the actual conference itself will be held at the Hyatt, the Grand Hyatt at Bahamas from Wednesday to Friday. And so, of course, we will keep you abreast. I'm sure most of you who are covering that are already credited by now. And so, of course, we'll keep our people updated on that as well. We're waiting on the Minister of Economic Affairs. I think they went to get him. So while we're waiting, why don't we go straight into any announcements that I may have and take your questions, and then we'll bring him in once he gets in here. Just one announcement for you. You may have remembered we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. As promised, the Office of the Prime Minister, and by extension, the government of the Bahamas, has intervened in the matter related to Endeavour Development International. You remember that's a company where there were a significant amount of Bahamians in Abaco employed. The company did not make good on its payroll for several months to those employees and pulled out. The government has been able to dialogue with the company. They've begun discussions and talks. Some 40 Bahamian workers have outstanding payrolls. The Department of Labor has taken on this dispute. The Prime Minister will not allow foreigners or anyone to take advantage of the Bahamian workers or abuse the Department of Immigration and Labor. In light of that, talks have begun to ensure that we get the money that's due to the Bahamian people, and we will not endorse or allow this to continue in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And when it's made known, we immediately intervene. So we're happy to give that update that there has been contact and intervention has been made, and we expect in the coming weeks to be able to update you and hopefully have those persons who have been left wanting resolved in this matter, and we can move on from this and ensure this never repeats itself or happens again. All right, so that's my announcement. We're now going to invite the Minister of Economic Affairs, the Honorable Michael Alcides, to come and update us on a number of matters and take whatever questions. I know you're burning with questions for the Minister. So without further ado, Minister Alcides, and also the Financial Secretary, has joined us, Mr. Simon Wilson. So I'm sure we're well covered this morning. Minister?
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Watson, and good morning to all. Was it afternoon? Still morning. How's everybody doing? I know I will anticipate that I know that there had been in the press some commentary about the renewal of business license and business license applications, and as well there had been some commentary about some reports by the Bahamas Insurance Association as it relates to healthcare premiums. And so I will just give you an update on what is happening in terms of business license. And I would comment a bit on I think there was also some commentary on the requesting that renewals for business license provide an assessment number or the location or name of landlord for their business. And I'll just let you know what is being required, and then I will answer any questions that you have. In terms of the business license, as you know, everybody, all businesses are required to have that operate a business are required to have a business license, and this is the period of renewals. I would like to say at the outset, the business licenses are valid until the 31st of March. So individuals can continue to carry on their business. There has been a lot of commentary about what is being required of businesses in order to renew. And I would just like to say, and at the end, the FS can provide some additional figures. I think we have in excess of 33,000 business license applications, of which 3,000 so far have been successfully dealt with, approved. There's nothing else that's required of them. As you may know, businesses that report a turnover of $100,000 or less are not required to pay a business license, and so they pay nothing. But what we have found is that of all the applications, we have just under half, 47%, are either reporting zero turnover or turnover exactly the same for the last 3 years. And so what the department has determined is that they require additional information to verify these reports. Not all of these businesses are being required to provide income statements. I think that has been reported somewhere that, all these businesses are being required to provide income statements. They're being required to provide some additional information so that the Department of Inland Revenue is in a position to verify their turnover. What we undertake that all of the business licenses, renewals, and applications will be dealt with before March 31st, so no one would be in danger of their application not being completed. And we have agreed to, because there are people from the very small businesses to the very large businesses are now applying for either renewals or new business licenses, we have decided to fast track a certain category of licenses. So your taxi drivers, straw vendors, roadside vendors, we've agreed to fast track those. We've brought in some additional, or we've deployed additional employees to the Department of Inland Revenue to deal with this busy period, and as well those workers are working overtime. We agree that we should have more consistent communication with the public, and we undertake to do that. And we are looking to improve our customer service because we have had some issues and some complaints that we acknowledge those, and we undertake to improve that. But I would just like to say, ask the public to bear with us as we go through this period. This is the renewal period, so there will be some delays. There was the question raised as to why don't you just approve all of the business licenses and then do your checks afterwards. I think that method was tried a few years ago, and the result was just a significant reduction in the amount of business license revenue. I think the department owes it to the Bahamian public to ensure that the information that's being reported is correct, because this is government revenue. In terms of the property tax requirement, unfortunately, it was reported very early in this process that businesses who rent their premises for the purpose of running their businesses would now be responsible to make sure that the landlord paid his property tax. And I think that created a lot of confusion and muddied the waters. What we are asking businesses to do when they renew is, if they have an assessment number, please provide it to us. If they don't have an assessment number, what we ask them to do is provide us with the name of their landlord and the location of their business. This does two things. It assists us in making sure that all commercial properties are on the property tax roll, and it also assists the business license department to verify that the business is still in the location that it had registered in previously. We have been undertaking a number of initiatives in terms of real property tax, from the reassessment that was started many years ago, stopped. It was recently completed. You might recall that there have been various amnesties, where discounts were given, half off if you pay. We had in our last administration a situation where we told people, if you're not on the roll, if you've never received a bill, come forward. We will get you your bill, and we will not go back. We will start from today going forward. So there have been many initiatives, and the FS can tell you as well about the proportion of the tax that we actually collect. And so we've been doing various initiatives to increase the proportion of the property tax outstanding that we collect. You might recall that, when we were introducing VAT, there were various numbers, 400, 600, all these hundreds of millions of dollars of property tax that were outstanding. We are using various instruments, various methods to ensure that our information is complete so that we can properly bill and properly collect, because it's patently unfair. It's very unfair for one individual to be right here and he's paying. Someone situated right next to them, they don't pay because apparently they're not on the tax roll. Someone asked me that, okay, so you're asking the business person to do the job of inland revenue. Well, we're asking for an assist. We're asking for an assist because it benefits us all. And so just to wrap up that point, we're not asking any business to be concerned about whether the landlord has paid his real property tax or not. All we're saying is, in your renewal, if you have the assessment number, give it to us. If you cannot get it, just tell us the name of the landlord to whom you pay your rent and the location of your business. This will eventually benefit us all as we can increase the number of properties on the roll. The more people that we get on the roll, we can then begin to look again at reducing rates. The final thing I wanted to speak about before I took some questions was this issue. And so if you have questions about specific numbers and percentages, we can bring the FS on, who looks at these numbers all day. The final thing I wanted to comment on was the public pronouncements by the Bahamas Insurance Association about the treatment of VAT on health insurance premiums, and the assertion that from them and other quarters that the government is issuing a new tax or implementing a new tax on health insurance premium. That is not the case. What has happened is the Department of Inland Revenue conducted an audit, and they discovered that the treatment of VAT by one particular health insurer was not in accordance with the legislation. And so, for example, that insurer was using VAT paid on medical bills as an input to reduce the amount of VAT that they remitted to the government. We found that we discovered that, and what we decided was that we would, ensure that companies apply the rules as they are intended in the legislation. We have had a lot of discussion. This rule was supposed to be implemented July 2022. In discussions with the BIA, we delayed that. We proposed September 2022, and eventually December 2022, then March 2023, and eventually the Bahamas Insurance Association proposed to us in a letter April 1st, 2023, to which we have agreed. Now, there has been some public relations campaign, some talk shows, and some other releases about the fact that this will lead to the increase in premiums and laying it at the feet of the government. We do not believe that that is the case. We know that this is not a new tax. This is just, we are ensuring that the deductions are treated in accordance with the law. And so we will be monitoring the implementation and ensuring that the rights of consumers are protected. And we'll do what we have to do in order to do that. And so, I would just like to end that portion by saying, it's totally within the rights of the government to say we would look backwards and go to recoup those sums, and they are in the millions that were not paid, but we decided that we would be forward-looking and start to ensure that the proper treatment is done going forward. And so that's what we intend to do. As I said, there had been extensive consultation on this, and we finally accepted the proposal of the Bahamas Insurance Association to implement on the 1st of April 2023. I'll leave that there, and I'll just take any questions that you might have if you want to go deeper into any of the things that I discussed, if you want to particularly speak about the percentages that we collect in terms of property tax, et cetera. The FS is here to lend some support as well. Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Would you say that You mentioned businesses having to, now send in for their income. Would you say that businesses were significantly underreporting their income to try and get out of paying if they were above that 100K mark?
That is, we have, like I said, I think it's just under half of the businesses either report zero turnover or, they just put the same number that was in every year for the last 3 years. There is an issue, what the Inland Revenue has to do is verify that, what businesses are reporting as best as they can is accurate. The law empowers Inland Revenue to request additional information. So for example, if they see a return that just does not make sense, it's too low, and there are different categories of business. I don't want to get into it. I don't want to be accused of pointing any fingers, but you might have a business who that they did not make $20,000 last year. All right, and you have ways to check this by customs imports, etc., utility bills, all those sorts of things. So that in this particular case that is an underreporting, and so it is incumbent upon them to do some checks, because it goes. If we look at the big picture, all of us are taxpayers, and all of us are required to pay our share. And so the Department of Inland Revenue cannot just look the other way when someone is providing a number and just take the number at face value. Unfortunately, it causes a bit of a delay, but we believe that when we balance the interest of collecting the revenue that's due to the government, and when I say government, I don't mean me, I mean all of us, when we balance the interest of collecting the revenue that's due to the government and slight delay, we think that we will strike that balance. As I said, nobody would be put out of business. We will resolve all of the issues before the 31st of March. But there have been issues where there has been underreporting. I don't want to point the finger at everybody, but we have to ensure that we do our best to say, well, okay, this business is reporting X turnover, that is credible. That's possible. Not just, if somebody is reporting, for example, this is one example, and again, I'm not talking about everybody. Let's say if somebody reports the exact same turnover for the last 3 years in a row, that's not likely. Things go up and down. So when we require, again, we're not requiring everybody to go and hire an accountant or put in audited statements or even put in income statements. What we're saying is, in some cases, additional information is required. That might be a utility bill, that might be a bank statement, that might be a rental agreement, whatever. But it's an effort to ensure that these turnover amounts are credible.
Have you spoken to some businesses?
Mm-hmm.
Their banks have been calling them because of the threat of their business license expiring.
Mm-hmm.
The banks are going to close their business account. So I know you spoke about the March 31st extension, but after that extension, what do you hope to happen to?
We hope to deal with all of these issues. That's we have about 6 weeks. As I said, we've put on, I think, 24 additional persons. We've deployed, not hired new, but just deployed to clear this up. Banks shouldn't, they shouldn't threaten the people like that. We know, for instance, that I spoke with someone from one of the business associations who their members are required to submit bonds in terms of surety, and we've agreed that we'll deal with them as a group to ensure, because the people who issue the sureties for them require that they have a license all throughout the year. And as we have agreed to fast track your straw vendors, your taxi drivers, your roadside vendors, the small landscape individuals, we are looking at other instances where we can facilitate speed. But when we, as I said, I'll just reiterate, this is an effort to ensure that the information we get is credible information. We're not going exact down to the penny, but it's our responsibility that when we see a situation where it is in not credible information that's being given, we have to make an effort to make sure we get the right information.
My question is not related to the issues we discussed.
Oh, no.
But Louise is saying that
Okay.
expenditure projections
Optimistic?
are optimistic.
Okay.
Do you think the goals are achievable? I think the Prime Minister projected.
Yes, we think they're achievable. We think they are achievable. As a matter of fact, we've in terms of since this administration came in, we've met our projections and exceeded our projections. Moody's think they're optimistic. We think they're optimistic, but we quite rightly think that we can achieve those. And we are encouraged because when we look at the strength of the economy, it continues to grow. I know there was, and the projections are that strength continues through 2023 and even into 2024. I know in the past few months I've had questions from amongst this group about the threat of recession, and I think I said don't claim that. And we've seen that recent information coming out of the US in terms of how strong their job market is indicating that they might be in a position to, it's more and more indicative of them avoiding a recession and, or, you know, having the prospect of what they call a soft landing, meaning, you know, coming down from the high growth rates being higher. So that discussion about US recession is beginning to recede into the background. And so 82% of our visitors come from the US. As long as their economy is growing and continues to be strong, we've seen that our numbers are so strong that our problem is we don't have enough rooms to hold the people. And so we'll be looking at how we can bring those rooms, assist the operators in bringing those rooms back on track that are out of commission. And our investment pipeline is very strong and spread throughout the islands. And so we feel good about the strength of the economy. We continue to talk to Moody's. You know, we were, you know, S&P, they reaffirmed our rating. Moody's weren't so optimistic. You know, they were speaking about something that might happen in 2027 when they did the report on us. So obviously, there's some more conversation that we need to have with them. But yes, they are optimistic, but we believe that they are quite achievable. And we go to mid-year budget in about 2 weeks, and the public will be able to get an idea, well, not an idea, but they will be able to see how the budget has performed so far in the first 6 months, and I think they'll be quite pleased.
I think you said a lot of that was predicated on revenue collection. I know that's been a challenge in the past. Are you comfortable with what the revenue enhancement has been doing?
We're very comfortable. Revenue collection has not always been the problem. I think by and large, you know, taking out the COVID and what happened immediately after Dorian, by and large, the revenue performs within, you know, within reason. The bigger issue is, you know, unexpected expenses and having to support the state-owned enterprises and emergency things that come up in being an archipelago. So, you know, keeping a rein on the spending. They think we're optimistic. Yeah, we think we're optimistic, but we have to be optimistic. But I think our record will show that, you know, we've been achieving our targets, and I think we can continue to achieve them.
Well, the Prime Minister said that he plans on collecting 75% of annual real property tax by 2026. How do you plan on doing that?
By increasing the number of issue that we have had. And as I said, I remember when I was when I was Minister of State for Finance, we had a program where we told individuals, listen, if you've never received a property tax bill, come forward and tell us. We'll come and assess your property and we'll begin to bill you from this day forward. We won't go back, because previously the practice had been they would come assess you, and then whenever your occupancy certificate, whatever the date of the occupancy certificate was, they'd go back those years. And so that is something that we did to try and get more people on the rolls. What we have to do is try and get more properties on the rolls. Unfortunately, the rolls are still not complete. So what we're doing in terms of requesting businesses to give us an assessment number or your location, that will assist us. We also have plans to increase the number of individuals we have, particularly in the Family Islands, so that we can close any gaps in terms of second homeowners. We'll be aggressively pursuing that in this upcoming year. And, you know, so those things, once we get the properties on the rolls, we can get more people on the ground, particularly in the Family Islands. We have initiated with the clearing banks a system where they are ensuring that the property taxes are paid on properties under mortgage with them. And so that is being ramped up. That is a process that every month, as time goes on, the amount of mortgages covered is increasing. And so that is useful for individuals because we've had instances where individuals have not paid for the life of the property. They might have passed on. We've seen a case recently where they passed on and the property goes to the children, and there's a huge outstanding bill. Or someone might, they did not pay and they decide to sell the property. There's a huge bill. Or they paid off the mortgage and they think, I've paid my mortgage, I'm home free. There's the bill. And so we believe that if it's paid, even if it's blended into the payment, so there's a small amount, or if the banks just certify that it has been paid, that assists us a lot. So those things in terms of getting more properties on the roll, initiatives to make sure that it's paid. We continue to offer 10% discount for early payments. We think that would get us up towards that. Ideally, we would like to do 100%, but we'll never do that. So that is a goal that we've set.
Okay, my second question. What you said earlier about the insurance company not remitting back sounded like they were defrauding the department.
I wouldn't use that strong a term. I think it was just a misapplication of the rule. All right, I wouldn't use that term. And what we want to do is we want to ensure that the rules are being applied as the law says. I don't think you'll get any argument from the association that this is what the law says. All right, what they're saying is it will cause premiums to rise. Premiums rise all the time. I'm sure those of us who are insured, we know, and that if for general insurance, you have a hurricane, you might not have any damage, but next year your premium is up. Individuals in group insurance, they have some claims experience in there, it goes up. Individuals generally, prices go up. What we do not want is for, because we are saying this is how the rule should be applied, there's no disagreement on the legality of it, but we're not taking that on. I mean, you can't go out and say, okay, because now the rule is being applied as it should be, the government is responsible for premiums going up. Premiums go up for a number of reasons. We do not think this is one of them.
Anybody else? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And for the FS?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, FS, as well. Okay, so any other questions you may have for the administration, I'll be happy to take those for you before we bring our feature on. Jamila Missick, our news, any questions for me? Okay, thank you, Jamila. Cleopatra Murphy, ZNS, anything for me? Yes.
With regards to this reported increase in NIB, we know we have the BPL, another BPL hike set for next month. Is the Bahamian public, can the general public afford to continue paying these increases that are being placed on us?
Not for me to say. I think the Minister of Finance, Economic Affairs, probably would have spoken toward it. I can't say much on the increase because it hasn't been announced yet from Cabinet, other than what you would have heard the Minister talking about the fact that a decision has been made. We don't know what decision has been made as far as what it will be. What I can tell you, though, as far as, I think your question was all of these increases, the Cabinet is mindful of that. And that's why programs and designs are being implemented to try and soften the blow upon the Bahamian people. But I can't say whether or not there has been an agreed increase because that's not come to my desk yet. I think Prime Minister Davis will announce that if that is the case, and we'll talk about if they are going to increase it, how it'll be implemented, and all of that will come. We will not leave the Bahamian people in the dark. But I don't want to say any more on that yet because an announcement has not yet been made in that regard. All right, thank you, Cleo. Let's see what is here. The Tribune. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? Go ahead.
In a local daily, they reported today that, well, in highlight of what happened in House yesterday, suspending, that Pendrad said that he wants to call the civil servants to the Public Accounts Committee. So what is the government's response to that? And do they think that this course of action is justifiable, I guess?
Our parliamentarians will speak to it if that ever happens. Sometimes things are said, but the action is not, we're following it. If it happens, the people in Parliament will address that issue, and they'll address it from the floor of the House of Assembly, so Bahamians will have that on record. I know media have questioned yesterday's, I guess, outburst in the House by the opposition demanding question and answers. The leader of government business has already said that they're prepared to answer those questions when the House reconvenes, and so I think that'll hopefully satisfy. Again, a lot of the questions that have been put on the table to be asked, at some point, I've come up with some of the answers. But I understand they want to have them in detail, and so the minister responsible, who is of course the leader of government business, has said they will address those questions.
Also, I wanted to ask, is there an update on the Freedom of Information Act? I know that it was still in process.
No new update from what we last spoke about. It is being rolled out. That's the important thing. It is being tested in various departments and ministries. The personnel that's needed to operate is being put in place, so it is being implemented. It's not on a shelf. It is being rolled out. It just takes that long to roll it out, and it's being rolled out. And so hopefully soon you'll be able to access it and see how it works. Thank you. JC, anybody here from JCN? Destiny? Oh, hey, Destiny. Hi. No questions? Okay. Tyler Summit, Eyewitness News. Hi. Anything? Listen. Go ahead, Tyler.
I have one question. Can you, the opposition leader, Michael Pintar, has been saying that the opposition has been sending letters, a lot of recommendations to Office of the Prime Minister or the Prime Minister directly. Can you confirm if these letters or recommendations are being received? And he's saying that they're not getting any response. Can you confirm or deny?
I can't confirm. I'm not aware. But I do know that the opposition leader, whenever he requests to see the Prime Minister, he's seen him. I've seen him here many times, having meetings with the Prime Minister. So I would assume that if he has any kind of concern or suggestions, that he is being able to dialogue with the Prime Minister in that regard, because he has been here. All right, thank you, Tyler. Anybody else? Our News, online, Our News, Tribune Business, nothing? Okay, so I think we covered it all. Y'all the best today. All right, so let's move now to our featured highlight of our food vendors. Highlights that we do every week, and we're so excited to have today representation from the Bahamas Culinary Olympic Team. And they, of course, you know, the award-winning Culinary Olympic Team, and we have them here to talk to us today about them. The team is made up of chefs Wayne Munker, Tracy Sweeting, Basil Dean, Jason McBride, Alpheus Ramsey, and Emmanuel Gibson. And we have two representatives from two of them. I know definitely Chef Emmanuel Gibson is here, and the other chef is Wayne Munker. Come on, gentlemen, and tell us a little bit about your accomplishments and what we can expect. It's a big display out there, y'all. Those who are watching, I'm so sorry, but it's a big display for those who came today. Go ahead.
All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Chef Emmanuel Gibson. I'm joined by my fellow colleague and also a friend of mine for many years. And we're excited to be here today just to share with our Bahamian people some major accomplishment that I feel like we have done during our first 50 years as a nation. And in 2004, the Bahamas had we were able to compete at the Culinary Olympics in Germany, not only one time, but then also in 2008. And I think that's a remarkable achievement. We were able to go through a lot of training in Luxembourg just to see what the competition was all about. So we went through that, and we was able to also go to Chicago on many occasions for the Chicago Food Show. And I think that kind of set the foundation for us to really go to the Olympics. And so it was a remarkable achievement. So I'll let Chef Wayne Munker, talk about that some more.
Yes, we went in 2004 and 2008, and this is the first for any country in the Caribbean. And no country in the Caribbean has ever did this before, and we're still the first. So I think it's a very outstanding accomplishment. We were against people like United States, Luxembourg, Germany, all these different places. We still got a bronze medal. So I feel like we did exceptionally well. They had budgets of over $1 million+. We had fundraisers, and we went over there with our knives, and we did a good job. So I think it should go down in history that we are the first, and we are still the only representative in this region that ever went to that level. The Culinary Olympics is the highest level that you could ever attain. So, I think it's remarkable.
And just to add another piece of that, look, coming up in another 50 years, we certainly want to inspire the next generation of chefs to even go further. And so I think that's one of the message today, that they can really represent our country on a higher level and really accomplish much more than we have done, So I think that's one of the messages we want to send today, just inspire those in culinary, in the hotels, try to represent our country. You can learn so much when you go away and see all those different chefs on that world stage competing. And I think when you look at the career that me and Wayne have did after we left, we were both executive chefs as the one and only. So all of those experience that we got competing and being able to see food at that high level, that kind of laid the foundation for us. So all the young culinarians out there, that's the way to go, get that exposure and, put the Bahamas on the map even further.
We had one other team that went in the 1980s, the early 80s. Adam A. Farrington, along with expatriates who were not Bahamians. They represented the Bahamas as well. But this is the first time a national team, all Bahamian team, represented the Bahamas, okay? Twice, 2004 and 2008. And we're the only one in this region and the only one ever in the Caribbean to go at that level. So just want to make that clear. Oh yeah, we also have a book that we want to give to the Prime Minister and highlight. It's a German book. It has the Bahamian team in it as well as what we did, and so we want to present it to the Prime Minister.
Tell us what you have on display today.
All right, so Chef Wayne and I, we're both owners of our own business now. Like I said, that foundation really inspired us to go further, and not only in a chef role as in a hotel. We're both now entrepreneurs, and we're looking now to expand our brand. Wayne is the owner of a restaurant, not a restaurant, it's an ice cream hotel, I guess.
Yeah. I'm the owner of Mother Freeze. My wife, she's the owner of Bakehouse. I'm the chef for the Charge d'Affaires. Well, actually, the U.S. ambassador. He's not here as yet. So I'm with the Charge d'Affaires right now. So we're trying to do things, inspire the younger generations to come up, because the culinary with the Olympics, it taught us a lot of discipline, and it taught us how to do things consistent and do things right. And you can translate that into your work as well into your business. Okay.
And as for me, I'm the owner of Manuelo's Restaurant. Also, I've been open up now almost 5 years, and I'm looking to expand in the international airport. So that's coming up soon, and also
in the east as well.
And also in the east. So, like I say, culinary is a good profession, and also to if we could get more people on that stage doing it, I think it'll be a great thing.
I forgot about Sun and Ice.
Yeah.
I created Sun and Ice at the Atlantis as well. I don't know, I forget, but Mother Freeze is my baby. So that's why I put, but Sun and Ice is still there in the Coral Towers.
Yeah. All right, so
So thank you, gentlemen. We look forward.
All right, so we have some little samples from the bake shop and as well Manuelo's, all right? So feel free to.
We're going to display on there. All right, thank you, gentlemen. That's our press conference for today. If you have any questions, to reach us here at the Prime Minister's press office. We're here to service you. Thank you. Good afternoon.